Probably one of the most famous cases of Munchausen by proxy syndrome ever is back in the headlines because Gypsy Rose Blanchard has just been granted parole. This is Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and this is her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. In June of 2015, Gypsy Rose and her boyfriend at the time, Nick Gottajohn, killed Gypsy Rose's mother, Dee Dee. It soon came out after that Gypsy Rose was the victim of an extreme case of Munchausen by proxy, which is where a loved one or family member fakes or pretends that there's an illness in a child to get sympathy or attention. Records show that the Munchausen by proxy began when Gypsy Rose was only around 3 years old. Her mother had a medical background and she knew what to say and all the symptoms to fake when she would go to multiple doctors. If she didn't like the answer that doctor gave, she visited another one. Dee Dee claimed that her teenage daughter was terminally ill and that she had the intelligence of a 7-year-old. She said she had leukemia, muscular dystrophy. She had numerous amounts of surgeries. She was on an excessive amount of medication and she just kept going. This, of course, gave Dee Dee and Gypsy a ton of attention, but it gave them a lot more. It gave Dee Dee a ton of money, perks, and trips all over the world. They went to Disney World tons of times. They ended up traveling all over the world, helicopter rides, you name it. They also even had a home built for them by Habitat for Humanity. Dee Dee went as far as lying to Gypsy Rose about her own age. She would dress her up in children's clothing, including costumes, and apparently Gypsy Rose did love dressing up. It wasn't surprising to see Gypsy Rose dressed up in costumes, especially Disney princess outfits. She was actually wearing a costume similar to this when she met her boyfriend, Nick Gottajohn, for the first time. He had traveled from Wisconsin to Missouri to go to the movies with Gypsy Rose and her mother, Dee Dee. They had met online and had been messaging back and forth for quite some time. This was, however, the first time that they met. During the meet, she ended up excusing herself, taking her wheelchair to the washroom, and Nick Gottajohn followed, and that was the first time they were actually together. Soon after that is when they started hatching the plot on how they were going to kill Gypsy Rose's mother. Nick and Gypsy plotted Dee Dee's murder. Nick drove all the way from Wisconsin one night, and they ended up completing the task. They fled back to Nick's home, where police found them 5 days later due to some Facebook messages that Gypsy Rose was posting. In 2016, Gypsy Rose pled guilty to murder and received 10 years. Nick Gottajohn received life in prison without parole. She has just now been granted parole after serving 85% of her sentence, and she's going to be released this December.